And back here on the Labor and Energy Special, breaking news, as we promised when we first came on, the vote is on Monday. Stop the RGGI tax. Along with JDoc Joe Krause, John Bland is with us, and Senator Yudichak is with us as well, JDoc. Let's cover the topic in defined detail on the RGGI tax.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. Here we go again. RGGI is in our face here in Pennsylvania. The consequences are huge, and it's my fear that the public doesn't really even know what's going on. So I'm ecstatic to bring into the program Pennsylvania State Senator John Yudichak, serving the 14th District in Carbon and Luzerne counties. Senator, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me on to talk about this important vote coming up in the state Senate, where we need a handful of Democratic senators to step up to the plate and help us stop this massive RGGI tax on consumers and the Pennsylvania energy industry.
Well, I mean, this is the Labor and Energy Show, and as members of labor, obviously we care about working people. We care about speaking for the middle class and those who can't speak for themselves. So let's see if we can't get that done. First of all, if we can, and we'll get into John Bland. We'll bring John Bland in after the senator. But the senator, let's educate the listeners. What is RGGI, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative?
RGGI is 10 other states, mostly in New England and the mid-Atlantic states. Most of these states that have formed this compact are not energy producers like Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania exports more electricity than any other state in the union. We're number one in the United States in exporting electricity. Governor Wolf proposed 2.5 years ago entering this compact to address the issue of climate change, to reduce CO2 emissions. However, by joining this compact with states like New York and New Jersey, who won't let us build pipelines into their states, we are shutting down Pennsylvania's energy industry. We're number one, stood up to the governor's proposal that's going to impose an $800 million tax on Pennsylvania's energy industry and increased consumer home heating bills by over 30%. At a time when gas prices are up 50%, at a time inflation is at a 40-year high, Governor Wolf has proposed and pushing an unconstitutional RGGI tax. You have to go through the legislature to tax. And unfortunately, the governor has bypassed the legislature. He's done this through DEP. And what we found out at a very important hearing hosted by my colleague and I, Senator Yaw, who's the head of the Energy Committee in the Pennsylvania Senate. I'm the chair of the Commerce Committee in the Senate. We got together to look at the economic impacts of RGGI. And we didn't look to just Republican or Democrats. We went to the Independent Fiscal Office, a valued addition to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, so that we took the politics out of the numbers. And the numbers are staggering. The IFO says it's going to be not a $200 million energy tax, as Governor Wolf had proposed, but an $800 million energy tax on Pennsylvania energy industry. I have 5 plants in northeastern Pennsylvania tied to fossil fuel, coal, natural gas. They will be shut down as a result of this project. And one thing that came out of that hearing that really disturbed me, and it came from Sean Steffi, the Boilermakers, who said prior to RGGI, the northeastern Pennsylvania building trades, the Pennsylvania building trades, the Philadelphia building trades, the western building trades, they put $14 billion worth of natural gas infrastructure into Pennsylvania. Since RGGI's been announced in the last 2.5 years, not a single dollar has been brought to Pennsylvania to build out our energy infrastructure. RGGI is already shutting down projects. The Penny's pipeline has been shut down, 12,000 union jobs lost because of these radical environmentalists that are pushing an agenda that is shutting down Pennsylvania's energy industry and hurting organized labor.
And my question to you, sir, is what's the purpose of it? What is the goal of RGGI? And then we'll bring John Bland in, because in a sense, the goal of RGGI from these left-wing environmentalists is not going to be sustained here. It's not going to make a difference because a lot of the states surrounding us are not joined to RGGI. They're going to pick up what we give up. Talk about what the purpose is and why our governor's doing this. It's ridiculous.
J-Dot, the purpose is to address climate change. I voted for every piece of legislation to improve Pennsylvania environment, to improve our progress on addressing climate change. And the reality is you have to look to the science, look to the numbers. The radical left wants to say those kind of things, follow the science. But when it doesn't serve their cause, their radical cause, they disabuse the science. The IFO, the Independent Fiscal Office, reported that Pennsylvania has reduced CO2 emissions in the last decade by more than 40%, on par with all the RGGI states. But remember, the RGGI states do not produce energy. Pennsylvania, while reducing CO2 emissions at historic levels, we were still producing more energy. That means more jobs. So the goal is addressing climate change. However, the numbers bear out RGGI will not address climate change. That will not accelerate our addressing CO2 emissions. We're already doing it with clean burning natural gas, doing it with innovation, doing it with better apprenticeship programs at organized labor halls all over the Commonwealth. These folks know how to do the job right. They know how to build a pipeline. They know how to build a natural gas plant. I like to invest in human innovation. I like to invest in organized labor, and I'd like to trust organized labor. One of the other things that was very alarming from our hearing this past week was that the DEP modeling, the governor has empowered DEP to do the modeling on RGGI. And the IFO, this Independent Fiscal Office, determined they got the modeling wrong. DP suggested that we're going to have a $3 allowance to buy into RGGI. It's already over $13.50. The modeling's wrong. The goal is admirable. We all want to address climate change, but RGGI is not the way to address climate change. We're already hitting the mark by reducing emissions, CO2 emissions, over 40% in the last decade.
On the screen is the website stopthereggitaxpa.com. Senator Yudichak, one last follow-up question to you, and then John Bland from the Boilermakers will jump in to the conversation. Talk directly, Senator, if you will, to the people that are going to consume this message. Me, my family, your constituents, people that who are already getting slammed at the gas pump. They need to know what this means to them so they can contact their congressperson and voice their content against Governor Wolf and this tax.
Yeah, directly to the taxpayers of Pennsylvania. That is who is going to bear the brunt of this bad energy policy. And we already have an historical example of this bad energy policy going horrifically wrong. Look to Europe. Europe bought in on the new Green Deal. They went 100% on green, something very similar to what's embedded in the RGGI tax. And what happened? Energy costs skyrocketed, hitting consumers where it hurt. Inflation is raging. Manufacturing plants are shutting down, and Europe is dependent on Russian oil and gas. We should not put Pennsylvania or the United States on that level of footing. We are energy independent for the first time. 2019, we hit it for the first time in many, many decades. We cannot throw that away, and we certainly cannot throw higher costs in terms of heating your home on the Pennsylvania taxpayers. RGGI is overburdensome regulation that does not produce results. It makes no measurable progress on the environment, but it puts real taxes on the back of Pennsylvania businesses and Pennsylvania homeowners.
And just to put a timeline on it real quick, Senator J-Doc, before you jump to John, just to put a timeline on it, the vote is Monday. You're watching this today. The vote is Monday. That vote will have big implications.
Big implications. Again, we're looking for 4 Democrats, and there are many good Democrats, good supporters of organized labor. I know the governor and the administration has ramped up the pressure, but let's look to the facts. The facts are this is an $800 million tax on business in Pennsylvania. This will increase homeowners' household budgets by over 30%. We cannot put more on the backs of Pennsylvanians when they're struggling through the pandemic, when they're struggling through high inflation, when taxes are going up across the board. The RGGI tax is the wrong policy. We can get a bipartisan coalition, and you're seeing that come out of the House. The numbers in terms of support for the bill coming out of the House, House Bill 637, which is a better approach to dealing with climate change than the RGGI tax. The RGGI tax does not have the majority support across the board in Pennsylvania. In large part, it's another tax on Pennsylvania taxpayers.
No question about it. And we're talking about reality here. This is not going to meet environmental goals. We're already doing it. It's like being in the twilight zone. We just want our legislators, we want the governor to understand reality. Let me bring John Bland into the equation. John, this seems like another situation where the environment or cancer culture, the governor is bending over for them, and it's completely unnecessary. You and I have talked about it many times.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Joe, Senator Yudichak, he hit the nail right on the head. This is going to be devastating to Pennsylvania. The tax increase joining RGGI will have major impact on the citizens of Pennsylvania with the RGGI electric tax. The cost ratepayers $800 million, and those costs will be put to the consumers. Each household could be faced with a 30%, and I think that's going to be a low number. That's going to go up. That 30% increase, this is going to be devastating to low-income communities and even citizens of Pennsylvania that are on a fixed income. You compound that. You talk about 30%. You look at a percentage, but when your electric prices are $200 a month, and now you're just basically going, okay, $75 extra, sometimes maybe $100, $200 more. This is going to be hard to overcome, Joe.
And talk
John, real quick. You wake up, you go to work every day, you pay an energy bill, you fill your car with gas. You know what? Take yourself out of the Boilermaker seat and put yourself in the seat of an individual, which you are. We all are. That's the reason why we're here, trying to get people to understand in their terms what it's going to mean to them.
Well, it's going to be devastating to my members and the citizens of Pennsylvania. You compound high electric prices with the inflation we have going on right now. RGGI is not going to do anything but have more plant closures through the Northeast and the whole state of Pennsylvania. There's going to be less work. There's going to be less economical growth coming to Pennsylvania because who wants to come to a state with high electric prices? They're going to build somewhere else. Since Governor Wolf put an executive order on RGGI, it was like Senator Yudichak said it. I think it was around $5.20. It's over $13.50. These prices are going to keep going up.
And John, I'll go back to the senator. Senator, this is going to jeopardize. Obviously, it's going to hit everybody in the pocketbook. How many of our citizens probably don't even know about RGGI? I think we talked about it last night. And the fact of the matter is, if I go up the street and knock on 20 of my neighbors' doors and I ask them who RGGI is or what RGGI is, they're going to say Reggie Jackson. They don't even know what's going on. And yet they're about to get hit incredibly hard. And we have a shot that a lot of our plants are going to be shut down and our economy is going to be smashed. Talk about it.
Well, and the reason they don't know about it, and this is the most alarming thing to me, is that the governor has bypassed the public process. You should go through the legislature. You are constitutionally responsible for going through the legislature if you're going to impose a tax. It's in the Pennsylvania Constitution. The governor's ignoring the Constitution. He's ignoring the public. He doesn't want a public debate on RGGI. This is about, and the DP used this phrase, and it's alarming. This is our moral obligation. So that means no debate, no input. The public has no say and the legislature has no say because the governor sees this as a moral obligation. Yes, we have a responsibility to have a cleaner environment, to reduce CO2 emissions, and we're doing it. We're doing it each and every year because of organized labor, because of the work that they've done to build out the natural gas infrastructure in Pennsylvania that has reduced our CO2 emissions. To reverse that, and as John Bain mentioned, We've walked away from it. Prior to Reggie, prior to the announcement of Reggie, $14 billion worth of work for organized labor, building clean energy projects all over Pennsylvania. The governor, with the announcement, with the unilateral decision to go through regulations and not the legislature, to impose a Reggie tax on the people of Pennsylvania, has slowed our progress. It's actually counterproductive to reducing CO2 emissions. So what do you get? Less progress on the environment, less jobs, and higher taxes. It's a bad deal for Pennsylvania.
Senator, what can we tell our citizens to do? We don't have very much time. What's the call to action here?
The call to action is reach out to your state senator, reach out to your state representatives, reach out to the governor's office, and tell them we cannot afford more taxes that cut jobs for organized labor. We cannot stop the progress we've made on the environment. We all want to improve the environment, and you do that by investing in Pennsylvania energy security. And the last thing I want to say, this is how critically important it is. We have war waging in Europe, largely because of failed energy policies. Let's not make the mistakes of Europe. Let's help our brethren in Ukraine and in other countries get off the dependency of oil and gas from dictatorships and fascists, folks that don't want to be responsible on the environment. The United States of America, Pennsylvania has been responsible on the environment, and in large part because of organized labor leading the charge on these energy projects. We need the Pennsylvanians to step up, reach out to their legislators, stop the Reggie tax.
The Labor and Energy Special with J. Doc and Krause, John Bland from the Boilermakers. Special thanks to you and Senator Yudichak joining us here live. Thank you very much, Senator. Again, on the screen, stopthereggitaxpa.com. Less than 72 hours until we get to Monday. Let's stop the Reggie tax. We'll take our break. Back on the other side.